I'll let her ride and away we go.
Okay, picture this. I'm scrolling through the depths of the internet, and I stumble upon this Telegram channel called Bleak Narratives. I mean, the name alone sends shivers down my spine. It's like something out of a dystopian thriller, right? And it makes you wonder, who are these people, and what makes their narrative so bleak?
It's fascinating how a name can immediately evoke such a strong reaction. It's like they're intentionally playing on our curiosity, drawing us into their world. And then you see their tagline, hunting corrupt cunts since 2022. Whoa, talk about a mission statement.
Right. This isn't just some online forum. It feels different, like they're taking the law into their own hands. And for anyone listening who might not be familiar with Telegram, it's not your typical social media platform. It's designed for more private, encrypted communication, which can be great for privacy, but it also makes it a haven for groups that operate in the shadows.
Exactly. That semi-secretive aspect just adds another layer to the intrigue, doesn't it? So let's dive into their About section. They say, download bleak narratives. Download what exactly? Their ideology, a hit list. This ambiguity is probably intentional a way to pique interest and draw people deeper into their world.
It's like a recruitment tactic, almost like they're saying,
Okay.
join us and we'll show you the truth. And then there's this 76 members, 5 online. That's surprisingly small. It makes you wonder about their reach, their potential impact.
Right. It's a good reminder that online movements don't need millions of followers to be influential. Even a small, dedicated group can manipulate narratives, especially in the
Yeah, they
age of
call it
viral
self.
content and echo chambers. Think about the early days of groups like Anonymous. They started
They
small, but
call it a
gained
self.
significant traction through targeted campaigns and online activism.
And speaking of impact, let's go back to that tagline for a second. Hunting corrupt cunts since 2022. This isn't
And
just
they
about
would say
exposing
cunt four
wrongdoing.
times
There's a
in
real
fucking.
sense of anger and aggression there.
And they would say
It
cunt
reminds me
four
of the
times. And
rhetoric
all they did
used
was
by
post a
vigilante
couple of fucking
groups
things on
throughout
my
history,
Telegram,
those who believe they
tweet it
are
to it.
above the law,
You
dispensing
set
their
your
own
fucking
brand of justice.
give me
Absolutely.
free
And that
admin.
raises serious questions about their methods and motives. Who are they
Methods
declaring
and
war
motives.
on,
Okay.
and what
Okay.
constitutes corrupt in
Dude,
their eyes?
fuck out.
It's a
Okay.
dangerously slippery slope when
Just
groups like this appoint themselves as moral arbiters, potentially targeting anyone who challenges their ideology.
And they make it very clear they want people to view in Telegram. It's like they're leading you to their doorstep, inviting you to join their world.
It's about controlling the narrative. By directing people to Telegram, they can create a closed ecosystem where their message goes unchallenged. It's much easier to spread misinformation and propaganda within those echo chambers.
So, why would someone be drawn to a group like Bleak Narratives in the first place? What's the appeal?
I think it comes down to a few factors. There's a growing distrust in traditional systems of power, a feeling that things are rigged against the average person.
that right.
Add to
That
that a
right.
sense of frustration with slow-moving bureaucracy, and it's easy to see how people might be drawn to groups that promise swift, decisive action, even if those actions are morally questionable.
Shit.
And in a world where we're bombarded with
Morally
information
questionable.
from all sides, it's harder than ever to discern what's real and what's not. Bleak Narratives and groups like them thrive on that confusion, exploiting our anxieties and fears.
Exactly.
But you
They
guys didn't
offer
know what it
simple
was a minute
solutions to
ago.
complex problems, often relying on fear-mongering and misinformation to consolidate their power
Oh,
and influence. It's a
she
reminder that
called me a
critical
liar.
thinking and media literacy are more important than ever.
It really makes you think, what does the existence of bleak narratives say about our world today? It's a stark reminder of the dark side of the digital age, where anonymity can be both a shield and a weapon.
And it highlights the need for open and honest dialogue about the challenges we face as a society. We need to be asking tough questions, challenging our own biases, and engaging in constructive conversations, even when it's uncomfortable if we want to build a better future.
It's a sobering thought. So, the next time you find yourself going down an internet rabbit hole, remember Bleak Narratives. A stark reminder that the line between activism and vigilantism can be blurry, and the consequences can be very real. Okay, picture this. I'm scrolling through the depths of the internet, and I stumble upon this Telegram channel called Bleak Narratives. I mean, the name alone sends shivers down my spine. It's like something out of a dystopian thriller, right?
God.
And it makes you wonder,
Ironic.
who are these people, and what makes their narrative so bleak?
It's fascinating.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. So tonight we're going to be going over generative AI, and in particular generative AI and law. And I suppose I should say this morning, cheers. It is I, your host, Michael Talbert, the one and only Bleak Narrative, or us, I guess. what you just heard was the product of Google Notebook LM. And all I did was post a little bit of bullshit on something that it couldn't properly investigate, and then gave it some prompts that I made myself in the form of documents, and voila. Now, without further ado, I suppose, on to the show.
AI and the law. Huh. Man, this stuff is really taking off. You give me a ton to think about with all these articles and opinions, algorithms in courtrooms,
Yeah.
AI writing contracts. It's like we're stepping into a sci-fi movie, only it's real life.
It's incredible, isn't it? The speed at which AI is becoming part of the legal world is mind-blowing. No more what if scenarios that's happening right now.
Right. And it seems like everyone's talking about it. Like one lawyer I read about, Charlotte, she's a partner at a firm. She said something like, within 6 months, everyone here will be using it. AI, of course. And after going through all this research, I'm starting to see why she's so sure about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, she's not alone. There's this study, right? It shows that only a tiny percentage of firms, 5%, are using AI across the board right now. But a huge number of lawyers think it's only a matter of time before they are too. So, okay, let's break it down. What can AI actually do for lawyers today? Is this like a glorified spell check, or are we talking full-on robot lawyers arguing cases in court?
Not quite robot lawyers just yet, but AI is already doing some pretty impressive things.
Yeah.
Think like legal research, going through mountains of documents to find the important stuff, even creating basic legal documents.
So kind of like a super paralegal.
Exactly. AI really shines when it comes to tasks that take a lot of time, the tedious stuff. Imagine going through thousands of pages of contracts in a fraction of the time it would take a human. That's a huge part of the appeal.
I can see the appeal there. But what's with the hesitation? If it's so great, why aren't more firms embracing AI? Just a fear of the unknown, or is there something else holding them back?
I think it's a mix of things. There's this tension, right, between the potential benefits and then the real concerns. Like accuracy, for one. AI is only as good as the information it learns from.
The whole garbage in, garbage out thing, right?
Exactly. And in law, accuracy is everything. You can't afford to have an AI messing up case law or spitting out wrong information.
And I'm guessing confidentiality is another biggie. Clients need to know their information is safe.
Absolutely. There have already been some cases, like that Samsung one, remember?
Oh, right. That was a mess. Trying to use AI to fix a problem and ending up leaking sensitive information.
It just shows the risks of putting sensitive data into these systems, especially when they're always learning and changing.
Okay, so accuracy, confidentiality. What else is on the list of worries?
Job security. It's a big one for some. If AI can do what humans used to, what does that mean for the legal profession?
Right. It's not just about robots taking over the world. It's about them taking over our jobs. That's a bit unsettling.
Yeah. And I think that fear, even though it's understandable, highlights something important. It's not about replacing lawyers. It's about figuring out how to integrate these tools to make us better at what we do, freeing us up to focus on strategy, creativity, the things that make us human.
So learning to work with AI, not being replaced by it, interesting. But before we go too far down that road, you mentioned something before about AI hallucinating. What's that about?
Yes. That's when AI essentially starts making things up.
That's kind of terrifying, just making stuff up as it goes along.
It's not quite that simple. It's not intentionally lying. More like it's really good at seeing patterns and making predictions. So if the info it's working with has errors or biases, even just creative writing, it might not know the difference. It could present something totally made up as a fact.
Okay, I see what you mean. Still a little unnerving, though. We actually have a perfect example of this, the case of the AI obituary.
Oh, that's a good one. Really shows you the potential, but also the
Did she
pitfalls of
believe it?
this technology.
Tell me more. What happened?
So there's this software engineer, right? He really knows his stuff when it comes to tech. And he decided to give ChatGPT a task. Write his obituary.
His own obituary, seriously. Did it predict he was about to kick the bucket?
Thankfully not. But the results were interesting, to say the least. It got the main idea, but it started inventing details about his life and work.
So it was just making stuff up, like recklessly lying. One expert called it exactly that, actually.
Right, it's about accuracy again. The AI was working with limited information, just the prompt and whatever it knew about it. And that's where things can get messy.
And I bet that tendency to fabricate has huge implications for lawyers, where getting the facts right is absolutely essential.
Absolutely. Imagine using AI to find case law only to realize later that the cases it gave you are completely made up or the details are wrong. It's actually happened, and the lawyers involved got into serious trouble.
Yeah. Fascinating how a name can immediately evoke such a strong reaction. It's like they're intentionally playing on our curiosity, drawing us into their world. And then you see their tagline, "Hunting corrupt cunts since 2022. Whoa. Ouch. Not good. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, this AI thing. Amazing potential, but real risks we can't ignore. Oh, talk about a mission statement.
Right. This isn't just some online forum. It feels different, like they're taking the law into their own hands. And for anyone listening who might not be familiar with Telegram, it's not your typical social media platform. It's designed for more private. Exactly. And that brings us to a key point. A lawyer's duty in the age of AI. Because these making us ask some big questions about what it means to be a competent and ethical lawyer in this new world.
So how do we even start to unpack this idea of a lawyer's duty in
It's about finding that balance, right? Harnessing the power of AI, all that data crunching and efficiency, but never losing sight of the responsibility that comes with practicing law. You can't just blindly rely on these tools without understanding how they work, which would be for disaster.
It's like, I don't know, relying on your GPS without ever looking at a map, right? You might
They're using, knowing their blind spots, that whole garbage in, it's a AI. You feed it bad data, or it's only trained on a limited set of information. Consensus that transparency is key. And we're even seeing courts starting to weigh in on this. Judges are putting rules in place requiring AI disclosure in certain cases.
So the legal system is starting to catch up with the technology.
It is, and it's leading to some really interesting legal battles. Like there was this case, Upsolve. It was a website using AI to help people navigate bankruptcy, those who can't afford lawyers. Sounds like a good thing, right?
Right, access to justice and all that. What happened?
Well, it sparked this whole debate about what actually is practicing law without a license. Where's the line between legal tech and actually giving legal advice?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Can AI give legal advice without crossing a line?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's something courts are grappling with more and more, especially as AI keeps getting more sophisticated.
It's like we're in the wild west of law, trying to figure out the rules as we go along. But okay, so we've talked about competence, transparency, even consent. What about this using client data to train AI, especially if those systems are then used to, make money for the firm? That seems like it could get ethically murky real fast.
For sure. It's a huge issue. I mean, if you train AI on real world data, it's going to be more accurate, more effective, which could benefit future clients, right?
Right.
But then clients might feel like their information is being used without their consent, especially if the firm profits from it.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like going to the doctor and finding out they used your medical records to develop some new drug they're now selling. Not cool.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance again. We need clear ethical guidelines, regulations, encouraging innovation, but also protecting client privacy, their rights.
Absolutely. So competence, transparency, consent, those are huge. But there's one more ethical piece I want to get into. This idea of, well, can AI understand ethics? There's gray areas that are so crucial to what lawyers do.
Now you're getting to the heart of it. Because AI at its core, it's all about logic, patterns, right? Processing information, making predictions, all based on the data it's been fed.
but get to really grasp the complexities of human ethics, especially in law, where right and wrong aren't always so black and white.
Right. Law isn't just about following the rules. It's about navigating those gray areas, making judgment calls based on all sorts of factors, things that AI might not even recognize.
Exactly. And that's where the human element is still essential. Lawyers, they're not just legal technicians, they're counselors, advisors, advocates. They have to act in their client's best interest, but also uphold the integrity of the system, strive for justice.
And that's something an AI might not be equipped to do, at least not yet.
Exactly. AI is a powerful tool, but it can't replace human judgment, ethical reasoning, that gut feeling that something isn't right.
It's like we need to be careful, but also, like you said, curious. This AI thing isn't going away, and it has the potential to change everything about how we think about law.
I completely agree. To illustrate this point, I think it would be helpful to dive into some real-world examples of how AI is showing up in courtrooms and really challenging our assumptions.
Oh, I love a good courtroom drama. Hit me with it. What's actually happening out there?
Well, have you heard about the case of the non-existent case law? It was all over the news a while back. Basically, some attorneys got in trouble for citing cases in their briefs that were completely made up by an AI.
Wait, the AI just fabricated legal precedents? That's insane.
It is, and it really underscores the importance of verification. You can't just blindly trust what an AI spits out, no matter how convincing it sounds. Lawyers have a duty to double check, to make absolutely sure that the information they're presenting is accurate and legitimate.
It's a good reminder that even in the age of AI, those fundamental legal principles, they still matter a lot.
Absolutely. In this case, it caused such a stir that judges started taking notice. Now we're seeing courts implementing rules that require AI disclosure, and there are all these questions about how to authenticate AI-generated evidence.
So the legal system is finally catching up with the technology.
They are, and it's causing some really fascinating legal battles to play out. Take the case of Upsolve, for example.
Upsolve, remind me about that one.
Upsolve is a website that uses AI to help people who can't afford lawyers navigate bankruptcy. Noble goal, right? But it landed them in hot water because their use of AI started a debate about what constitutes the unauthorized practice of law.
That's right. Where do you draw the line between legal tech and practicing law without a license? That's a tough one.
It really is. And it's a debate that's only going to get more intense as AI becomes more sophisticated and capable. What exactly is legal advice? Can AI provide legal help without crossing the line? These are questions courts are going to be wrestling with for years to come.
Feels like the Wild West out there.
It does in many ways. But it's also an exciting time to be a lawyer.
Okay, I'll bite. Why exciting? It sounds like a minefield of ethical dilemmas and legal challenges.
Oh, it definitely is. But it's also a huge opportunity to rethink how we approach the practice of law, to embrace new tools and approaches, and maybe even find new ways to give more people access to legal services.
So looking ahead, what are some of the things lawyers need to be thinking about as AI keeps evolving?
Access to justice is a big one. Can AI tools be used to help people who can't afford traditional legal services, or will it actually make things worse for them? There's a real risk that AI could create a two-tiered legal system where those who have access to the latest technology have a significant advantage over those who don't.
That's a scary thought.
It is, and it really emphasizes why ethical considerations have to be front and center as we develop and implement AI in the legal profession. We can't let AI exacerbate existing inequalities. It needs to be used to promote justice and fairness for everyone.
And I'm guessing lawyers are going to need to learn some new skills to thrive in this world where AI is playing an increasingly prominent role. It's not enough to know the law anymore. You've got to know how to interact with these tools effectively.
You're absolutely right. We're starting to see prompt engineering becoming a really sought after skill. It's all about learning how to ask the right questions, how to phrase things in a way that gets the most accurate and helpful information from AI systems.
So it's almost like learning a new language.
You could say that. Yeah. And it really emphasizes why ongoing education is so important, both in law schools and within firms. We've got to make sure lawyers have the tools and knowledge they need to navigate the ethical and practical challenges AI brings to the table. We have to be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Burying our heads in the sand and hoping AI just goes away isn't an option.
Not a chance. And that brings us to our final thought for today, which is a bit more on the philosophical side, but I think it's something worth really pondering.
I'm all ears. Hit me with that thought-provoking closer. All right, hit me with that thought-provoking closer. What's the big idea we need to chew on as we wrap up our deep dive on AI and the law?
So we've talked about all the potential benefits of AI in law, but there's this bigger question we haven't really touched on. What happens if, and some would say when, AI gets so good that it can analyze mountains of data and basically predict the outcome of a case before it even goes to trial? What does that do to our idea of justice?
Okay, I see where you're going with this. You're saying if AI can tell us who's probably going to win from the get-go, does that even feel like justice? Like, does it undermine the whole point of a fair trial?
Exactly, because we think of justice as being blind, right? Weighing the evidence impartially. But if we've got AI predicting outcomes based on past data, on cold hard stats, doesn't that introduce a whole new kind of bias? One that we haven't even really begun to unpack.
And what about all those things AI can't quantify? Things like emotion, empathy, the human element that a good lawyer brings to the courtroom. How do you program that into an algorithm?
Right, and that's the crux of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, justice is a human thing. It's about so much more than just applying rules or predicting a winner or loser. It's about fairness, it's about understanding. It's about finding solutions that factor in all the messiness of being human.
Which is something AI, at least for now, can't really wrap its circuits around.
Exactly. It can crunch numbers, it can analyze data, but it can't replace human judgment. It can't understand those ethical nuances that are so crucial to the pursuit of justice.
Man, that's a lot to think about. So where does that leave us? It feels like we're standing on the edge of this huge shift in how the legal system works, and we're writing the rules as we go.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a little bit terrifying. AI has the power to revolutionize how we practice law, make it more efficient, more accessible. But we've got to answer these huge ethical and philosophical questions. We've got to be proactive, not reactive.
So embrace the possibilities, but don't forget those core values, those uniquely human things that drive us to seek justice in the first place.
Perfectly put. AI is a powerful tool, but it's up to us, the humans, to make sure it's used ethically, responsibly, that we use it to build a more just legal system for everyone, not the other way around.
Well said. And on that note, that wraps up our dive on AI and the law for today. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we hope you'll keep those questions coming. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those legal minds sharp.